Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Well, good evening. My name is Jim Kello. Welcome to New Tracks. This is a show where mentors help modelers build. Really do appreciate you coming this evening. Hope you come back often. Apologize for the start of the show, but we're not professionals here. We're all learning, and we'll get it better in the future. I want to mention the Walters Company. They have just announced they're coming out with their 2022 scholarship program. This is for people that are in high school, recently grads or about to graduate from high school, and want to pursue a STEM program in college or at a junior college. And there's going to be two scholarships of $2,500 each awarded by Walters. So if you have an interest in it, I encourage you to apply for it and take a hard look at it. If you have sons or daughters who are model railroaders, that's one of the requirements. Then I think this is a great opportunity to maybe pick up some money for their education. Same for your grandkids. It'll be on our website, and Walters has information about it. You can go direct to them and their website. We have a new webmaster for our show, Jim Allen. Jim's been around for quite a while and been doing web pages for other organizations, and I think we're lucky that he wants to volunteer with us. So, Jim, would you like to say a few words?
I'm excited to be here. I have created a few websites over the years, but I have to admit I'm a little bit old school, and this word, whatever it is, I have a blank here. But anyway, I'm excited to be here, and I've got to learn how to use it. Some is just becoming familiar with it, but I'm sure some of you guys will be able to do it better than I am until I can catch up to speed. But I've got some ideas and looking forward to doing lots of things. I've had many years of being in the train industry and modeling and collecting and all kinds of things over the years. So I'm hoping that I can contribute a little bit.
Well, I'm sure you can, because everybody talked very highly of you and what you've done in the past. I'm really looking forward to what you're going to be able to do for us. Thanks so much for volunteering and for wanting to take a helping hand.
You're welcome.
Next, I'd like to talk about the January 22nd show. That was the start of a new Tracks program on Zoom. Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, called the New Tracks Scratch Building Workshop. And the moderator for the show is Chris Blackmar. And Chris, if you'd like to say a few words about the show.
Well, I'm always excited to invite a few people to join us. I think we're getting quite a few people who are regulars on this show to visit us over on that show. Like today here, we had a little bit of a rough start on the last go around, but I think we've got it down, and I think we're going to have a much smoother show to present. I do invite you to go on ahead and take a look at the YouTube video. We've got two shows posted, and we're in the process of posting a bunch of links to some files and things so that you can download this particular ice house that we're working on in either a 3D working drawings off of SketchUp or in a standard file, old school format, if you will, that's been sketched out by Richard Wolfinger on to about 6 different sheets or views, and that gives you the old dimensional working drawings. And then Polygree has gone through and produced a textured paper model that you can build or use as a template. So we've got various files there. We're going to be producing links to various products and things as we move through the build. And I'm going to try to be presenting techniques and tools that newer modelers can use, as well as the older modelers who have been around for a while, but maybe introduce a few new tools that they may not have utilized. So again, please come and join us 1 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday afternoons, and it's going to be about an hour to an hour and a half, and I look forward to seeing you over there. Thank you.
I think you did a great show for the first one that you did, and I'm really looking forward to this. I can't encourage enough the modelers who are interested in scratch building. This is a real great opportunity to learn from the bottom up, so to speak, about how to scratch build, all the way from how to scale a drawing or how to scale a photo to whatever scale you're in, and then how to build it. And to me, this is one of the real great parts about model railroading, or any hobby really, is being able to take something that maybe nobody else has ever built and be the first one to have it, and be able to build it from a photo or build it from a plan that you see. To me, that is just, that's part of the greatest hobby in the world. So I encourage you to attend the show and hear from Chris and the people that he's going to have as guests with him. Next, I'd like to talk about the help that we need for our show. The same as Jim Allen was able to come on and help us with the web page. We have 2 other needs. We need people who can help us start our shows and run our shows. We have 3 people doing it now, but we need more. Chris needs help on Saturday, and we certainly need help on Wednesdays and have for some time. So if you would be interested in learning how to do it, then we would certainly be interested in talking with you. My email is jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com. And if you'll send me an email, I'd love to be able to talk to you about helping us out. I get a lot of emails saying, boy, it's great the show is going and you've done it for a long time. Please keep it going and so forth. Well, keep it going means that we need help. We hope that the people out there will want to join us and help continue the show. So if you're interested, please send me an email. We also need people that are familiar with YouTube and how to advertise on YouTube, either with flyers or shorts, I think as they're called. But we need a lot of help in producing them and then getting them published on YouTube, because that's one of our major marketing places right now that we're trying to use. And we need a lot of help. So if you're familiar with YouTube, again, my email is jimkellow, JIMKELLOW @newtracksmodeling.com. And really would appreciate all the help that you can possibly give us. Now I'd like to talk about a new program that we've started again. And this is about the NMRA local clubs and divisions around the world. This is going to be headed up by Phil Edholm. And Phil, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, certainly, Jim. So this was this was I'm sorry, didn't realize what I was seeing on my screen. So this is a program Jim came up with, which I think is a great idea. The concept is every couple of weeks have into our organization come someone who represents the opportunity for local mentoring. And I think this is kind of an interesting concept, which is there's an incredible amount of information on the internet. A lot of it is what I'm going to call one way. What we've seen in new tracks is the capability of doing what I'll call, which you think of as virtual mentoring. We're doing a lot of interactions, but they're all being done virtually. What's interesting about model railroading is so much of model railroading of what we do is actually better done as a demonstration, better done, person to person. For example, going and doing a clinic on distressing wood and having someone actually show you how, and you actually do it, and them comment on what you're doing and tell you how to do it a little bit differently and show you the technique is a lot different than what you can do in this kind of an interaction. So the thought process is really to begin starting a dialogue about how do we build that mentoring, that face-to-face, in-person mentoring, which we think really happens in two places. It happens, one, in clubs, and secondly, it happens in the NMRA divisions. So what we're going to do is try to ask NMRA divisions and clubs to come in, talk about what they're doing in mentoring. And one of the thought processes is we can actually build up out of this over time as a group, a bit of what I'll call, for lack of a better word, best practices in mentoring. So anyway, that's the concept. If you're part of a division or a club and would like to talk about it, or just like to have a dialogue about, what things you can do to make your club more effective, I think it's a great opportunity. So, send Jim an email, send myself an email. I'll put a link up in the text. There's also going to be a link on the website. So contact us and we'll get that set up and make it a dialogue. So look forward to talking to you. Back to you, Jim.
Phil, I really appreciate you doing this. Phil is the superintendent of a NMRA division in California. And we have other people that are involved in divisions that regularly attend the show. So if you'd like your division on the show, please let Phil know, and we'll make sure that we schedule your superintendent to come on and talk to Phil and tell us about what's happening where your modeling is. Next, I'd like to talk briefly about the build-alongs that we have coming up, and we've got a bunch of them. February the 9th, Paul Reeves, the owner of Kershaw Models, and Martin Breckbilt are going to start building one of Kershaw's models. That starts next Saturday. And there's a nice discount on all of these, and the discounts and the code words to order to get the discounts and when the discounts start. All of the detail is on our website, and our website is newtracksmodeling.com. And so I'm not going into great detail right now because I'm trying to hit briefly all of the various build-alongs that we've got coming up. But I encourage you to go to our website and find out the details about one that you particularly might be interested in. March the 23rd, Bruce Nicholson, who owns Seaport Model Works. This is the first shipbuilding model that we've had doing a build-along. He's going to do one of his kits, which is a waterline kit of a 53-foot coastal steam passenger ferry. Very prevalent east-west coast, Great Lakes. So this ought to be appealing to a lot of people, particularly that have water or harbor on their model railroad or on their modules. On March the 30th, Rich and Marie Hunter are start building a Hunter line 50-foot queen post covered bridge. This has also got a great discount connected with it, and it's in all four of the scales. So I hope that you'll take a look at this. This is the third one of these build-alongs that Rick and Marie have done for us, and I really do appreciate them coming back and doing it again. I think this is going to be something different. This is a covered railroad bridge, and something a lot of you, I hope, are going to be interested in. And again, all of the details on each one of these are on our website. Starting April the 8th, David Vaughn.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
Hey, Jim, there's what it looks like.
I'm not seeing anything.
So
Yeah, whoever's in charge, you might want to. Whoever's in charge, you might want to highlight Rick. There you go. Now you can show it, Rick.
Okay, there's what it looks like. That's our queen post. You can't really see inside there, but that's a queen post bridge inside, and our shapes and so on. We're doing this one a little different in the fact that because we're way out in the country and we don't have a very good Wi-Fi system, we are actually video all the segments, and then we're going to send them in to Jim's arranging to who we can send them to. And to do the actual build along, we will be live. Maureen and I will be live, but they'll be showing the video. And we're just in the midst of doing them all now. It's going really good. We can keep them under the half hour this way, you see.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys doing this again, Rick. This is really nice of you.
Well, it's great to edit it, you know.
Yeah.
Take out all the swear words.
There you go. All right, and then on April the 6th, David Vaughn, who owns Wit and Wisdom Models, is going to start his build along of the Nighthawk Cafe. This is a John Armstrong inspired model, and I think this is something that a lot of people are really going to be interested in, because this is history and an opportunity to build a model that is well known in the model railroad community by an excellent modeler many years ago. May the 25th, Chris Corks, the owner of Conowingo Models, is going to build one of his new kits, and he calls the kit the Kello Trolley Station. Thank you so much. I appreciate you naming it after me, Chris. And this ought to be something that's a little different. So I hope that you'll take a hard look at this. Chris is still in the process of developing the final kit, but we should have photos and all the information available very soon about when this kit is available and can be purchased. Starting June the 1st, Bill Banna, owner of Banna Model Works, is going to start building one of his models of an OM30 caboose. This is the first OM30 model that we've built doing a build along. So I hope that a lot of you will take a hard look at this one. Then July the 13th, a build along with Paul Egret, who's going to be the designer, and John Thomas Reynolds, who's the builder. And they're going to build a card model. It's going to be free to download in any scale you want. And then you'll be able to build it along with John Thomas Reynolds. And this was very popular when we did this once before with David Rory. And I think this is going to be really an exciting one for you, because if you remember, John Reynolds builds his by using Coca-Cola cartons for his basic cardstock material. We've also recently arranged one with Berkshire Valley Models. And that's going to be coming out in July, August timeframe, probably start around the middle of August. And that's going to be a car for OM30 and OM3. So I hope you're going to want to participate in a lot of these. I think they're going to be really exciting build-alongs for you, and an opportunity for you to use this, to use the builders on the show as your crutch. These are people that are going to be building exactly the same model that you are. If you have a question, that's what they're here for. If you need help, that's what they're here for. You're getting a discount off the regular price of the kit to encourage you to consider buying it. They're doing everything they can to make this easy and hopefully a real learning experience for a lot of people that maybe haven't built a kit in a long time, because kits are different today than they used to be when we used to buy them and so forth in the 60s, 50s, and 70s. It's a different kit building world today. So because of that, I encourage you and hope that you'll take a hard look at it. Next, I want to talk about the My Build. The next one that's coming up is going to be February the 16th, and the one after that is March the 16th. Chris, would you like to talk about these a little bit?
Sure, Jim. I'll put up the card here that we've got as soon as I grab it. But yes, if you have things you would like to share with us, we are open to putting those up. So, excuse me here. Do the share screen. All right, there's our title slide for the show. If you would like to share something you've been working on, please drop us an email, railrunner130@hotmail.com, and include a photo of yourself as well. That way we can put that as your title card. That was something we started doing this last month, and I think it went over well. So anyway, like I said, if there's a project you're working on that you'd like to share, or maybe something you found or something you need help with, please drop us an email, and we'll put you in there. Thanks.
Other thing I'd like to mention is everybody that shows one of their models, it's also written up in one of Dan Daugherty's publications. So what we need you to do, I think the picture is a great idea, your picture, because people will get to see what you look like, and that's important, I think. But in addition to that, we need a description of what you're showing. We need a caption that we can publish in the magazine, and frankly that Chris can use when he is showing the model and so forth and introducing you, so that we know and everybody knows exactly what it is we're seeing. In other words, what does the photo show? What would you like for us to concentrate on? What are we seeing in this photo that's important to you as the model builder who is showing it? And if you can do that and include your name in a photo and send the photos to Chris so that he can put the programs together, I think it'd be great. And also they'll be in the next issue of one of Dan's magazine. Dan Daugherty and his wife Amy, who own a model resource company, they are the sponsors for this. And because they are the sponsors, they've agreed that we will publish whoever is presenting the information on the show in the magazine that comes out for that same month. I sent the article today for the February-March issue of the magazine, and it'll be coming out in a few weeks. And everybody that was in the prior show last couple of weeks ago will have their model and name and a caption included in that magazine. So the one for February the 16th will be in the O-Scale magazine. The one for March 16th will be in the S-Scale magazine, and so forth. But I think that's really great of Dan and his wife Amy to think well of the show and to want to be the sponsor of it. So I have a short video, Phil, if you could run about the company and about Dan and Amy's two magazines.
Welcome to the world of scale, O and S railroading. We are your resource for all O and S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
So that's what his magazines are all about. I'm probably the only author in those magazines that writes about N-scalers, HO-scalers, G-scalers, you name it. Because again, New Tracks is about model railroad modeling. This is not scale specific, but skills, the techniques that the various people in various scales have are transferable, in my opinion. I learned from an HO modeler, and I'm an O-scale traction guy. So, you know, whatever your model is, I'm proud to have it in the magazine because it shows your ability, your skills, and your creativity. And that's what New Tracks is all about. So I encourage you to show us your model and share it with us on the show. And I think it's a real opportunity to also get it published in one of Dan's magazines. And I appreciate so much his understanding that point of view and going along with it. So now I'd like to go to our quick tip of the evening with Paul Thomson. Paul?
Right, thank you, Jim. I'm just going to bring up a share screen here, and this is sort of like two quick tips this evening, if you can see this.
Yes, sir.
Now, basically, the first tip I've got is repairing boxes for brass trains. I happen to have to do this, and as you can see, I've got a split right here. I've had a couple of boxes do this over the years. And lo and behold, I started using the weld bond that I've told people about. And just ran a bead of it down in the corner. This wasn't too badly. I've actually had them split wide open and done this. And then I put a little pressure, and the actual repaired one is on the downside. And lo and behold, this will hold a box together, and you don't have to, I've tried tape and all kinds of other stuff. It just doesn't work. So that's a tip that maybe somebody can use if they need to put together a box for a model. Now, on to the next tip, which is a little more modeling sensitive. You've actually heard me tell you that things that these plastic ties that hold socks and shirts and everything together are very useful. Here's another little bit of a use for one, cleaning out your glue dauber or whatever you've got. This thing has a hole in there where my cursor is. And this is a nylon, I believe it's nylon or some kind of a plastic. The nice thing about it is the glue, if it's something like weld bond or tight bond or white glue, can be reticent to stick to this stuff, and you just stick it through the hole, as you can see here, and it cleans it out quite nicely. I tried using pins and toothpicks and other stuff, and it's just not small enough. This is just a nice size, and the glue really doesn't stick to it. Now, that being said, some solvent glues aren't the best thing, but solvent glues are pretty liquid and they don't generally plug up your hole. Anyway, that's my tip for the night, guys, and thank you very much.
Well, Paul, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you doing these. They're very popular, as you know, and that's a great one, I have to admit. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Next, we'd like to turn to Daryl Jacobs for his comments tonight about the art of details. Daryl, welcome.
Hey, Jim, thank you very much. Tonight's segment is more in response to some questions and discussion I've had in the past couple of weeks with some people. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know. Okay, I'm not sure who's rolling. Great, thanks.
Hi there. Welcome to the Art of Detail, where the little stuff matters. Today we are going to answer a few questions we had about some specialized tools and techniques from our viewers. We would like to introduce you to these fantastic little sprue cutters from Tamiya. They are the cat's bum when you need accurate, close quarters cuts. The jaws are ground at a much lower angle than most cutters, so they cut cleanly, with much lower pressure. You can see how the Tamiya jaws compare to regular nippers. Also, note that the Tamiya jaws can be honed easily, as you only need to hone the back of the jaws. They are excellent for cutting rafter tails on structures, and the cut is much more clean, square, with much less crushing of the wood in the process. It is difficult to get the regular nippers into the tight confines of this tiny part sprue. You cannot cut the part free without damaging the part itself. These cutters are superior in cleanly removing parts from sprues or the rafts from 3D prints. As you can see, the jaws can get into the tightest of areas, and you do not damage the part while cutting. However, don't try to cut metal with them, as you may ruin the finely sharpened edge. While traditional cutters will cut metal, the finish is less than desirable. A much better way to cut aluminum tubing is with a fresh number 11 blade. Simply apply a bit of pressure and roll the knife over the tubing. It will score the aluminum evenly all the way around. Then, simply give it a little bend, and there you have it. Then use a number 11 blade to ream the end of the tube. Our last tip for the day is on mixing old paints that have settled from non-use. We all have these kicking around, and it can be pain to get them remixed. Now you can mix your paints with ease using one of these test tube Vortex mixers. Just press the paint bottle on the mixer top. It will activate the motor to vibrate your paint back into life. Position the bottle in a few different positions to loosen all of the settled pigment. The motion provided by the eccentric wheel along with high speed will loosen paint from the sides of the bottle. All without the pain of shaking your arms for 20 minutes. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of The Art of Detail. If you got one idea from this video, we are glad. Happy modeling, and see you next time.
Well, great. I hope you guys got something out of that. So have any questions, drop them in the chat and we'll turn it back to you, Jim.
Well, Daryl, thank you so very much. That's so useful. I've never seen that tool before.
Which one? The mixer?
The paint mixer, yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome little, it's a great little tool. They're about, I think you can get between 40 and 80 bucks, but I tell you, if you've got arthritis like I do in my hands and stuff, sitting there shooting for 20 minutes and trying to get a mix, this a few seconds, and it's loosened everything from the sides of the bottle.
It's a great idea. Never saw one of those before. Thank you so much. Well, now I'd like to go to Al Collins. Al's been on the show before and done some great modeling for us. Tonight he's going to talk about detailing models. So Al, welcome.
Thanks, Jim. There we go. Thanks, Jim. Daryl and I did not collaborate at all on doing these detailing things back to back, but there are certainly some parallels. Unfortunately, Nicole Kidman was busy, so you're going to have to listen to me instead of her sexy voice. So I'm going to bring up, this is the first time I've done this on my own with this keynote presentation, so hopefully you'll be impressed. A little bit, you've met me before, but maybe a little bit of proper introduction. I've been modeling 60 plus years, started with Triang. First job was in a hobby shop. 35 years ago, I started Mount Albert scale lumber. I've cut miles and miles of basswood. I hooked up with Jerry Cornwell and Roger Malinowski a number of years ago, and we started Mount Albert scale models. I seem to go from different careers where I sometimes have more free time and sometimes I don't. So the last career, when I retired, I came up with the idea of automation. So I'm making some automation tools that you've seen, and a new one coming up very shortly. But it seems like I just tend to come back to making sawdust. So where are we going to go here with, look at that. Now I'm going to share. How do I share my screen now? Oh, I got to share screen first.
Now you want to click on the share screen at the bottom and then typically your upper left screen will be your
I don't
desktop.
see the share screen icon.
Are you on Zoom?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, share screen. Al's tips, share. There we go. Play. All right, Al's tips and techniques. So another brief explanation. I don't know if Clark's on here or not. I put this on for our little group up here in Toronto or Southern Ontario, and at his insistence, I fine-tuned it and brought it up here tonight. Al Collins, MLM, just a little bit of background on that. That's our group is affectionately known as the Maple Leaf Mafia. And that was a nickname given to us by the Mid-Atlantic group down in Pennsylvania years and years ago, Roger Cutter, when we used to go down there with our modules to Pleasant Valley and Kimberton, and it stuck. So we're affectionately known as the Maple Leaf Mafia. So going along hand in hand and talking to Jim with his mentoring concepts, which are great. Over the years, like I say, 60 odd years I've been modeling. One of my greatest frustrations was, and there was guys in our own group, comrades, if you like, that did some beautiful models, but they wouldn't share any of their techniques. You'd ask a question, how did you do that? How did you finish that? And the answer, well, I'm not going to share my secrets. So that was extremely frustrating. So with our group, I started a bit of a diorama, a wharf scene, and I thought, okay, it's like a build along, but it's going to take a long time. So what I'm doing as I'm building this, I'm going to share any tips or techniques or tools or anything I come across as I'm doing it. I'm going to share. And if I push this button, so the first thing I'm going to just flash a couple of models that I've built. And I, like Daryl, I'm fascinated and I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm almost addicted to detailing. This is a semi-scratch built. It's a Mount Albert kit. Like I say, I know a guy. So I've taken a lot of these kits and modified them. This was a John Allen engine house that I drastically modified to what I thought in my mind it should look like. And again, concentrating on details. A lot of this stuff, I have no idea where it came from. A lot of castings are from a junk drawer. A lot of it came from Wiseman, Berkshire Valley. I just, whenever I see something, I collect it and I put it in a bin, and I said, no, I can use that. So I won't bore you too much with these. I'll flip through. Again, concentrating on details, which is the whole object of what we're doing here. Artista figures. Details are like the Walter Mitty. They bring the fantasy to life. Walter Mitty used to lock himself in the basement and go off on fantastic journeys like Don Quixote. And now, if you could detail a model, it makes it that much more real. A lot of this is just the windmills of my mind. So the latest kit, and this is the one that it's like a build along, I suppose. And I've done this completely backwards. This is a Bar Mills kit called Oak Leaf, and I built the building first. detailed it as I went, and then I'm going to build a wharf, and then I'm going to try and make the scenery match the building and the wharf. I guess that's in the true sense of the word, that scratch building, because I spend more time scratching my head than anything else. So the first thing I want to look at is the siding, is the clapboard siding. And this is time consuming. It's O scale. Sorry, I'm going to back up one. It's O scale, and it's at the back of the base of this is O scale milled siding, which I actually built the cutters for a long time ago. But it's pretty boring, and it's kind of hard to make it look anywhere realistic. So HO 1x10s fit perfectly on the O scale clapboard backing, and just takes a little time. I used to, get up in the morning, get up for a pee, come and glue 8 boards on, then go back to bed or whatever. But eventually it'll all come together. You've got to be very careful when you're doing it, because you're gluing one side of the wood only, and the tendency is for it to go like a banana. So you've got to stop every once in a while and put some weights on it till the glue sets, and then it won't warp quite so badly. And then as you start putting the model together, of course, you can put some stiffeners on the back. Interesting little tool in the background there that will be coming out soon. Another little tip, again, 1/4 inch scale. These are laser cut shingles that I think will be coming available from Fast Tracks. They were designed to be on a 1/4 inch matrix. 1/4 inch graph paper is really already, the lines are there for you. A little bit of spray adhesive, stick it on, and you can lay your shingles on. That's a perfect job. And then here's for you, Rick. This is Rick's driftwood stain and a little bit of Cordova brown. If you just go gently, you won't, be really careful, because the alcohol will dissolve the glue. So if you soak something like these shingles and there's not a whole lot of glue holding them on, sometimes they'll come loose. So just gently, little coats at a time. The nice thing is it dries, so you can see here that they'll give, some of the shingles will curl, and it gives a nice effect. Corrugated roofing. This is aluminum corrugated roofing. I've never had a real success with the Archer etch, and I've got something else to try here. I did these with hydrochloric acid to try and dull them down, but you still end up with some shiny spots down in the valleys. Anyway, some powders and a little bit of airbrushing, you can fix that up. So to put this on, the tape that's rolled up there is 3M, it's transfer tape. It's available on the internet. I think Amazon actually sells it. And what, believe it or not, it is designed for, it's polyvinyl acetate film, and it's about 2 thou thick. And what it's used for is the commercial window guys, when they're putting big plate glass windows in the front of storefronts, and they've got aluminum mullions, they put this double-sided tape on the mullions, and they'll push 8-foot square sheet of 1/4 inch plate glass into that opening, and this stuff will hold it in place long enough for them to get the other side of the aluminum retainers on. So just a few strips of that, and it's a great way to stick down the roofing material like this. You can even use it for tar paper. It's a great product for that. I was going to talk about the rust, but I'm not going to bother. Micromark sells the same thing in a liquid. Depending on what you're doing, this is a great tool. I think they use it, sometimes guys use it for canopy cement. There is stuff called canopy cement, but this does sort of the same job. So if you've got where you're overlapping the sheets like this, you can't properly use the tape, so you want to use something so you can intermesh the corrugations. This really works well. And the nice thing is when you get to the end, you can paint. You can paint that glue right in the corrugations. It'll stay tacky for long enough that you can place it and it'll hold down, and it does a nice job. Voila. Just briefly, the rust effect I had on here is a new product out by MIG. I'm a great proponent of all the wonderful paints and finishes that AK and MIG have for the armaments. They're way ahead of the model railroad industry as far as painting goes. This is a new product they have, and it's one of those two-step rust products where the base coat has very fine iron powder in it, and then you activate it. I'm not really happy with it so far. I got to play with it some more to see if I can get, I need more practice to be able to use it properly. So I'll reserve judgment on that. So now we go on with some more details. Daryl, I got the stuff you sent me this morning. Daryl sent me a care package of some of his details. I didn't have time to put them together, but Jim's asked me to come back in a couple of weeks as I progress with my little diorama. So I'll put some of Daryl's details together, and we'll talk about those. Train Troll is a company down in Rhode Island. It does a lot of waterfront stuff. Very fine laser work. Takes a bit of time, but if you can think about something else, and instead of watching TV or falling asleep on the couch like I usually do, you can put together some crates, which are a great detail for, again, I'm doing a wharf, so crates like this are coming in. I've got some little part of the building is a freezer for fish. I needed some ice, so my granddaughter was here. She had some beads, and I said, boy, if I smash up some of those little beads, it'll be really nice for ice. So she didn't miss the clear colored ones. I don't know if Bill's on tonight. He said he would be, but perhaps not. Again, details. Little pallets. He makes a little kit with a little jig. Phil, I apologize. The nail holes are way too big, but by the time you put stack stuff on them, the nail holes aren't that visible anyway. It takes a little bit of time for these details, but at the end of the day, it's well worth it. Workbenches, you can make your own workbench. I think these are like 10 or 11 bucks, 2 workbenches. They come, all you gotta do is glue them together. The only thing that I haven't been able to buy is time. If I can buy a kit and make a couple of workbenches, they're already cut for me. It's worth a few bucks to do that. Nick, he's been on here before, Nick Massney. He makes this really neat little insert for his buildings. He makes them in HO and O scale. He says they're 3D interiors. Well, I call them 2.5D interiors because they the crates are only basically the front wall of the crate with a little bit of a relief on it. You glue them up. You build up the foreground. The back blends in. Flat black is your friend when you're trying to do an interior. So when it's done, the flat black just disappears. The crates look like they're 3D, but like I said, they're 2D in a little bit. So you can put a light on them. It looks like a warehouse full of crates when really it's only a 3-inch insert. Amazing. And Daryl and I did not talk about this, but there's the sprue cutters, and they're perfect. And what I use them for, NBWs are my friend. I use them everywhere, but sometimes I can't. As you can see on this little crane, you can't sort of be drilling a lot of holes and putting NBWs in from both sides. So you just snip them off with that sprue cutter, perfectly flat, a little spot of plastic cement, and you're done. Another tool that I think is invaluable. I just had a little surgery, so they are invaluable. But it's a scalpel. They are much more sharper. That's good English now. Much sharper than X-Acto 11 blades. They don't last as long. I just put a new one in every time I could go into my workshop. The blades are cheap, but they make a perfect cut. As you can see, I cut into the siding there and just let that little crane in. Perfect. So now we're going back to details, which is the object of this whole thing. So as you can tell, I enjoy detailing. So it took me quite some time to detail the interior of this engine house, not to mention the exterior. And quite often what I'll do is I'll set the details out before I go to bed, and then I'll come down in the morning before I glue them and make sure I'm happy with them. So this took me a couple of weeks to set this all up. But then the finishing touch. I'm not going to take the roof off my model every time someone wants to see it, and there's no point building a model without a roof. So I've taken a different approach where I only detail the inside of buildings where you can see. As an example, you can see in that sliding door, again, nail holes are way too big. I think, Chris, that's one of your pet peeves, and it is mine too. I'll get better at making smaller nail holes, but you get the whole concept of having an interior in a very short space, small space, without detailing the whole interior and hiding it with a roof. Again, same thing. These are some 3D printed parts from Rusty Stumps. Walter Gillespie, unfortunately, has retired for the second time, so I don't know if those 3D printed parts will be available in the future or not. But from outside, it looks like there's a whole interior building. ITLA once more, some neat little fans. They're 24 thou laser board, just cut, glued together. My friend Jerry calls these, this little hit and miss engine, he calls these placeables. This is a 1/43 scale kit, but it works all right for O scale. The frame for this and the black part is supposed to be stacked wood to represent wood, and I don't like trying to paint white metal to look like wood. So if it's all possible, I'll replace these slides are in order. I'll replace what should be wood with wood as much as possible. These are bits and pieces to go on that little hit and miss engine. The thing on the bottom is a very handy tool. You buy that at a pet store. It's a scratch pad for cats instead of scratching the furniture. You can get these little sticks with alligator clips. You can make them yourselves with skewers, or you can buy them at the hobby shops. Great tool for painting stuff. So this little hit and miss engine went together. It's a water cooled engine. You can see the wood, the real wood frame and the real wood blocks that hold the water tank up. Are a whole lot better than trying to paint white metal. And as the name implies, it's a placeable. So I just kind of thought it was all funky. So I'm going to put it wherever it fits on this diorama as I build it. Corks and double-sided tape. Excellent for painting little bits and pieces. There's one of Bill's workbenches down there, and a whole bunch of parts from Berkshire Valley. And I stole my spot for my little hit and miss engine. But these are what bring models to life, is the details. For me, the enjoyment is doing this. It makes the finished product. So that's where it is as far as the building goes for now. And this was for Bill Banta. Again, details. I hope he's there, but maybe not. This is a little ash pit, a plaster cast ash pit that Bill, I don't know if he still sells them or not, but he certainly used to. But with a little bit of detailing, the rest of the stuff's all scratch built, and a few weeds and some gravel. A little bit of detailing, that whole ash, or detailing, I should say, that whole ash pit comes to life. quickly for the next issue I do, when I forget now, when Jim asked me to come back, is working on the wharf. You can't do, in my mind, you have to build fixtures or jigs. So this was the scratch build part. I literally I'm building this, scratching my head and figuring out where the next board goes as I go along. I don't have any drawings. And I really don't have a plan on a daily basis. I revamp what I'm doing. So I made a bit of a matrix. I made a bunch of bits and pieces. I started, it's like a Lego set almost, putting this together. I won't stay on this too long because I'll do another section on this when it comes out. I'll also do these for the next time around. These are some kits that Daryl sent me. I'm going to have a whole crowd of people on the wharf to see the Ark of the Covenant come off the boat. If I ever get an O-scale boat, that is. Anyway, that's a bunch of detailing. Is there any questions or comments?
Yes, Al, I do have a question. On the ash pit, you were showing some hose. And was that hose done with solder, or did you use some other material to create the hoses?
Well, believe it or not, that's solder with shrink tube over it. And it really is neat. Use a heat gun. The shrink tube gives you rubber. The solder holds the shape. So you put the shrink tube on, you very carefully heat it up with the heat gun, because you know what happens if you heat it too much. And then you can bend that virtual rubber hose now because it's shrink tubing, and it'll stay in whatever shape you want.
That's a great tip. I've never heard of that before, but that's a great tip, Al.
That's
Yeah,
patented.
that's excellent. I have to concur. I've never heard of that one. I've heard of the solder and painting it, but I picked up that just didn't quite look right somehow, and I couldn't identify it. So,
Well, the
excellent idea.
Problem with solder is that paint doesn't like sticking to it. You paint it all up nicely, and as soon as you try to bend it, the paint all comes off. So, yeah, this was just anyway. So these are kind of things that are nice to share. I get no patience with people that say, "Oh, I can't tell you that. It's one of my secrets."
Well, I really appreciate you doing this, Al, because the details, to me, that's what people remember when they go see something or see a module or see a model railroad. They remember the detail scenes. And that's why I was so happy that you wanted to do this and that Daryl wanted to do his every week, because the details, that's the art. That's part of the art to me of model railroading. That's the creativity of model railroading. You can build a kit, and that's fine, and the kit is great, but it's the detail that's going to be the difference in that kit that Al built versus Jim's built.
I've shown this picture because this is one of the interesting challenges. To the right of the picture, where the piers are, just where the decking is, and then the rail runs down the middle of the pier. They're all different height piers. And I got them all, look at that, they're all levels. So the rail can go on the center section and the decking can go between the rails and on the sides, and it's all at the same level. Probably could never do that again.
Well,
Hey,
thank
Al.
you so much.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hey, Al, be careful. If you keep on with these quick tips and all that, Paul might tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, be part of the quick tip team.
Now I'm too slow.
Well, Al, thanks so much for doing this tonight. I look forward to you coming back and showing us the wharf and some more detailing.
How do I stop sharing here now? You want to get rid of me, right?
You're stopped. I did it a while back.
Oh, okay.
Well, now I'd like to go to a person that I'm really proud to introduce to you this evening. As you know, a couple of months ago, I came up with this idea of trying to introduce hobby shop owners to the audience. And we've had some. This is the first hobby shop owner who is a member of the National Retail Hobby Shop Association. And I've been talking to them for some time. I wrote an article and they were kind enough to publish it in their publication. And I've been trying to get their members to, frankly, to come on the show and to talk to us about their hobby shops and what they do. And one of the board members gave me Mark Posey's name and said, well, you ought to talk to Mark. You got to talk to Mark. So Mark was the first member of the association that I called, and he and I talked for a while. And everything that he said, I agreed with. I mean, it makes so much common sense. And if I lived closer to his hobby shop, I'd be in there an awful lot. So I'd really like for you to meet Mark Posey of Posey's Trains. And Mark, thank you so much for being here this evening. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me on today. Nice to see you.
Well, listen, let me start this. Maybe can you tell us where you're located and what you're all about?
Okay, well, we're located in Rohnert Park, California, which is just north of San Francisco, about 50 minutes north in the heart of the wine country. A year and a half ago, we moved from Santa Rosa. We were there for 11 years and the landlord finally sold that building. So we had to move locations. So we did. We found a little bit bigger store, a lot easier access, better parking. And we are specifically a model railroad store. We do not sell anything other than model railroad products. And
that's awfully unusual.
It is. It's very strange. I get told that quite a bit. Really how I started this store was about 11 years ago. I also build classic and antique cars, restoration business, 35 years doing that. And about 11 years ago, I was going, almost 12 now, I was going to put my new Roadrunner in my garage that I just finished, and my garage wasn't big enough. So I thought, well, my wife wouldn't let me move the wall into the living room. So I told her, well, I'm going to start a train store or go a train layout, excuse me. And so I went to all the places that I normally go to get stuff from years back. I started in trains as a child, and all those places were gone. There was nobody around my area selling model railroad products whatsoever. So about a month later, we were heading to Southern California where my wife's family is. And I went down there with a wad of cash in my pocket, hit all the major train stores down there, and I couldn't buy anything. I tried to buy track. I tried to buy the basic stuff to build a layout. So I came back to my shop, and this was when the economy was really turning bad in 2008 and 9. And I had all this hot rod parts in my showroom that my high-end customers, they just write checks. They don't come in the store very often, but the do-it-yourselfers would come in on Saturdays and buy a load of parts. Well, that was gone because they didn't have the money. So I'm sitting there with a whole big showroom full of stuff. And I thought, well, I wonder what it takes to open a train store. So I called Walthers up and ordered what I thought was a huge order. And it filled about a third of one wall of pegboard. And I thought, man, we got a long way to go. So we just started growing the business from there. I started doing train shows, and now I do shows from here to New York. So normally I'm gone prior to COVID, 3 months out of the year with a truck and trailer. And I've done Amherst, I've done Timonium, North Carolina, Texas, Ohio, Iowa, Nebraska, you name it, we've done it, California, et cetera. So that brings a lot of customers in, and we're now finally working on a web store, which I know we're a little late to the game on that, but we do actually like to talk to people. So that's kind of how we got started. And my premise is I want to have this stuff in stock that people need to build a layout, or if they want to come in and, oh, my train doesn't run, we can fix it for them, or we can sell them the supplies they need to actually do that.
Mark, the people that you hire for your store, are they model railroaders, or are they just people that sell whatever?
No, they're model railroaders. No, we are all model railroaders in here. In fact, my wife and I and Dick and James are all members of the National Model Railroading Association. And my daughter is even a member of the NMRA. Was, now she's 18, so now things are changing with her, of course, but she's a past modeler. We are all members. Everybody that's in the store here is members of our modular group here in town. We actually have a modular model railroad that we take to shows, and we did our first show with all of our new modules in Sacramento in January. And that was a big success for us. So yeah, we're actually modelers. I custom build layouts for customers. I do bench work. And then also offer all the products that actually work together. We have a lot of people come in that have bought stuff off the internet. Oh, this doesn't work with that. It's not compatible. So we're problem solvers, and it tends to make people return to our store.
What do you see? What's your biggest challenge being a modern railroad hobby?
Our biggest challenge, to be honest with you, is the internet. Straight up. We have guys come in here, they'll milk me for information for several hours, and then they'll come back in and buy a little tidbit and tell me about this layout they built. And then I'm looking at them like, okay, what's going on? And then I find out that they got on the internet and just bought a bunch of track or bought a bunch of whatever they needed. I just had that happen today, in fact, with a gentleman who I spent hours with. And so that's our biggest challenge. And we try to price all our stuff compatible with the internet. So we try to run the price deals and everything else to make it affordable, because we know at full list price, you can't sell a lot. You have to discount your products. So we try to do that. And then we offer after the sale support, service, and we actually know what to sell the customers. We try to talk to them and find out what they're doing, what they want their model railroad to be, what their vision is, and then we sell them the products that are appropriate for it. But I would say there's a good percentage of the time we just get those people that go home and just sit there on the internet and buy up thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and we don't get any of that revenue.
Gotcha. So how do you counter that? I mean, what's your solution to this situation?
Well, what we do is, obviously we're not going to get that revenue back, but I think what's made us really successful is doing a lot of the trade shows. So we get out there, we get to meet our customer base that we do send stuff to, and they call in orders. Like we were recently in Seattle a few weeks ago, and we had a great show up there, and it was really interesting to meet some of the customers that have been buying from us that we've never met before and put faces to names. And that has allowed us the ability to keep the business going. Because if we just relied on having a sign on the door and local advertising, I don't think there's a train show in the United States that would survive.
I get it.
To the next level with the internet store.
Now, do you have an internet store? Do you sell?
Right now, no, we actually have not had one. We just started building that, and so we're hoping to launch that within the next 3 to 4 weeks. It's a lot of work, and just my wife and I, and both of us had some serious health issues last year, so that really slowed us down. Un-COVID related, both heart issues, but that put us probably a year behind, to be honest with you, in what our goals were. And then with the COVID, that just kind of screwed everything up too.
So really, when you open a web store, then people from all over the world will be able to buy it from your website.
That's true. Yeah. It's really neat when we have people come in, because we've done shows in England, or not England, New York and stuff like that. We have people who will come in, travel from England to New York. And then, so now we're a destination business. So when they come to the West Coast for vacation, they come in and they say, oh yeah, I'm from England. We have, or Germany, France, we have a lot of international customers that make a point to come by our store. And one thing that we offer that most stores do not is we offer a lot of pre-owned stuff. I have no problems with buying estates and collections in all scales. So people have a lot of choices when they come in the store that you wouldn't have walking into most train stores that are merely ordering from all the new suppliers. I would say it's become about 50% of our business.
You have a repair or service station part of your hobby shop?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we are Soundtracks and TCS certified DCC installers. And then we also offer repairs on everything from the small scales on up. Biggest challenge lately with parts, is parts for repairs. So we've politely declined to take some repairs for a while because we have a lot of stuff stacked up that we've been waiting on parts. But I'm starting to see the supplies coming, finally getting out of some of these containers, and that'll allow us to start receiving customers' repairs again, because that's a huge part of our business too. And with the COVID onset, that really made it difficult for us to get revenue out of that because we just couldn't get parts.
What about scratch building supplies? You have scratch builders? I mean, are you catering to scratch building?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. In fact, we have carried the Mount Albert lumber. A couple other brands. We carry the Evergreen Styrene. We have the entire big display, and it's constantly full. We're waiting for our K&S metals display to come in so we can have metals. So we do like scratch builders. I'm going for my MMR personally, so I'm a big advocate of scratch building and so forth. So that's kind of why I wanted all that stuff in the store too, so I can just go over and grab it when I need it. But don't tell my wife that. My wife can hear me. She's over there. So yeah, we like to really cater to the modelers. At Christmas time, we get in a ton of toy train sets, and that brings in a whole nother crowd, which is wonderful. Our Christmas seasons have been very bountiful the last couple of years in that respect. And then after Christmas, a lot of times you don't see them come back. A small percentage will start building a pike or layout. But a majority of our regular modelers are, and we have a lot of MMRs in our area and a lot of guys building new layouts. So they love coming in and just raiding the evergreen styrene and the wood racks for all the stuff they're building.
What about clubs and that kind of thing in your area? Are they very active or?
We do have the RAD region of the NMRA, which is local. They're pretty active. We have 2 modular clubs in a Santa Rosa area. One is fairly inactive right now, but our club is really spiking up. There's a group of us that left the other club because we wanted to do something different. And so we did that. So we have a 40 by 60 layout that we take to the shows. It's HO scale and all DCC and so forth. So, and we're striving to just be better modelers every time we take it to a show. We want improvements, just really get the quality level up there on the modules that go to these shows, because our feeling is that that's a lot of people's first impression of model trains. When they go to a train show for the first time and see these modules, that's what their first exposure is. So we want that to be top notch and run flawlessly for them.
One of the things that my show wanted me to ask is about your ordering from, say, Walters or the other suppliers. Do you have a certain time of the week that you place an order where modelers can call in and say, you know, if you next order for Walters include this, I want this and this and this. Do you have that capability?
Yes, we do. My rule is we're closed on Monday. So Mondays are the days when I get a lot of things done that I don't get to do during the day in the store. So Mondays are the day I sit down and do all my ordering. And that happens every Monday. It's rare that I think it's probably only happened a couple of times where I haven't had to place an order because I just don't have enough stuff, but that's really rare. And then we restock. We stock the full line of KD products. That's another product that just flies off the shelf in our store. I have every number that KD makes in stock. And that's one of the things I religiously believe in keeping in stock. And I noticed that a lot of stores don't do that. And so I have a big rack with all the numbers in there, even the narrow gauge, the goofy stuff is all there. And we've been well known for that. And we also take another rack on the road to the shows. So that is another thing we're known for. So yeah. And then Mondays are restock days. Sometimes I have to do it twice a week. At Christmas time, sometimes I'm ordering 2 and 3 times a week.
Do you encourage modelers to give you a call and try to place their orders so that they can get it? Shipping cost is what they're trying to get away from. If they can have it in your order, then you know everything comes to your store, and then they can either pick it up there or you can arrange to get it to them.
Yes, we do encourage that, because when we order from the suppliers, I order in such big quantities that a lot of times we don't have to pay shipping. So we pass that on to the customer. They can call it in. It comes in on a stock order, and they have no shipping cost to them whatsoever. They just got to come in and pick up the product.
Gotcha. Let me ask you this. What can a modeler do to help a business like yours be successful? I mean, besides coming in your store and buy products, what else can a modeler do to help you?
Well, that's one thing I've noticed. A lot of young models, and the other gentleman touched on that earlier, mentoring programs and getting the word out there. A lot of the modelers, even in our area, I experienced this. And when I started really getting into it heavy and wanted to aspire to become an MMR, a lot of the guys just don't want to let go of their secrets, and they don't want to let the younger generation be exposed to model trains. We have a ton of younger people coming in our store annually, and I encourage them. We try to show them things. We try to get a throttle in their hand. We have a couple of very tiny display layouts that we run. We're building a new one now, a bigger one. But we try to get them interacting with us, and it's really discouraging for these younger people. And I'm not just talking little kids. I'm talking people even in their 20s and early 30s. Oh, don't touch that. And I'm not telling you anything. So I think if the modelers would just take a much more open approach to talking to younger people and realizing that there is a tremendous amount of interest in this hobby in the younger generations. A lot of them don't know how to do anything, or their skill set is very minimal. But if somebody takes the time, who is very educated and has been doing this for a long time, to show them, they tend to be repeat customers. And I have quite a few repeat customers who are in their 13 to 15-year-old range who their parents don't mind spending the money, and they'll spend good money for nice products because the kids enjoy it, they respect it, and it keeps them away from the TV and the video games. So that's one thing that I think would be huge.
Well, you know, some of the modelers on the show, when I first announced that I wanted to have the hobby shop owners on the show, they said, well, talk to them about the clinics, because modelers on the show, some of them feel that, you know, if the hobby shops had some clinics that people could come to and learn some of the things, how to do the basic skills of model railroading, that would be beneficial both to the hobby shop and particularly to the modeler.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's something, we moved into this building a year and a half ago, and that obviously COVID had started, but as soon as we get a little more clear of COVID, I am going to start doing clinics. I've been told I'm pretty good at scenery. We have our own line of polyurethane foam scenery, rock molds, etc. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start doing clinics on DCC. I'm going to start doing clinics on basic building a layout, either a 4x4 or 4x8, because I have a full wood shop out in the shop, so I can literally construct this. So we want to start doing 1 to 2 clinics a month in our store out in the shop, and we also want to video those and put them on YouTube. Have our own YouTube channel on that. And a lot of it's going to be a lot of the basic starting stuff, because a lot of people, if you start showing them how to scratch build this monster project to start with, it's intimidating. But if you show them the basics of laying track, getting a train running, doing some basic scenery with your Woodland Scenic Shakers or Scenic Express, whatever brand you like, just the basics, then they can start taking that craft to a higher level.
Exactly. Well, that sounds great. It really does. And if you'd like to come back and be on the show and show some of the clinics and so forth, or build a layout, I think that would be wonderful. And I'd love to have you do it. If you're interested, just let me know.
I am definitely interested. I think this is a great medium. And along with the younger generation, do get on YouTube. I hear that every day. We get some customers coming in talking about how they searched YouTube and looked at things. I've had people mention you many times, Jim. So it's really nice to have that medium, because that's what the younger generation really likes to look at. They like to see it. So that's why we thought not only would we do the clinics on site where people can sign up, some will be a take and make clinic, some will be a free clinic, some will be a paid clinic, depending on what we're doing. But we want to have 1 to 2 clinics per month out in the shop. But we've kind of had to wait till some of the COVID restrictions have lifted. Sure. County's fairly tough right now. We're one of the tougher counties in California. But as soon as that opportunity opens up, we will do it, because everybody in the store, everybody who's working in the store is completely vaccinated and boosted.
Right.
So,
well, let's just hope that by April things have opened up, because I think the PCR convention is in April up your way. So,
yeah, in fact, I'm the vendor chair for the PCR convention, and I am the PCR store clerk.
So, you know, one thought process going back to your discussion might be to think about engaging, you know, the division up there, the red division, you know, around the clinics, because it might be an interesting way to get some division folks to come in and do a clinic and, you know, get some credit for it and help you.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking
about.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. I mean, because it can become a promotion for the NMRA too. It's kind of a combination. Yeah, if you like this clinic here, we have lots more things we do. And, you know, coming back to that mentoring on-ramp, the hobby shops is a mentoring on-ramp. That's an interesting thought. So,
yeah, and I don't see it being done anywhere. I literally travel from here to the east, and when I go, I always try to stop at a hobby shop somewhere.
Yep.
And I've seen the gamut of really awesome hobby shops to I'll never go back hobby shops, but I've noticed most of them do not offer a lot in the clinics or extra education, other than, and there's a lot of them unfortunately out there who just sell products. They're not even modelers. When you start asking them some of the more technical questions or what have you, they can't give you a straight answer, or they've hired an 18-year-old kid who literally has no clue what he's doing. Nothing against young people, but if you're going to get somebody in there in your store to represent, they really should have some knowledge. And that's what I'm very proud to say. Our store, everybody that's in here is knowledgeable. We are modelers. Even my wife has built an HO scale module that's an alien crash scene. My daughter built a heart-shaped pond module at 6 years old, and she did all the scenery and she laid the track. So there's an artistic talent with those two that's just wonderful. And then Dick, he's an older gentleman. He's been with us for quite a while now. He is quite a modeler, really into brass. His modules are almost 30 feet long, and he's a big SP modeler, and he has a gigantic yard that he brings that everything's controlled by relays. He is the electrical super guru of our club. And then we have James, who's here quite a bit. James loves ON30. So we have quite a gamut of people who model, and James has traveled a lot across the nation with me to shows. Dickie's going to start traveling with me to some of the shows. We have one coming in Victorville, and then we're going to Denver for the Rocky Mountain Toy Train Show. Those two big ones we got coming up.
What's the other thing too that I want to mention to you, what I hear all the time from modelers is they want a hobby shop that they can go to for the basics. That's what they really expect the hobby shop to stock. If they need track, they want to go to a hobby shop and buy it. If they need the basic glues, they want to be able to get them. The more detailed stuff, the more sophisticated stuff, they don't expect the hobby shop to stack everything that a model railroader could want. But they do expect the basics to be there, and then they expect the hobby shop to help them acquire the other things that the hobby shop doesn't stock, but that they need for their modeling.
Right. And that's the whole premise. When I opened this store 12 years ago, that was my exact business model. The basics, because I went around all those stores in Southern California and couldn't buy the basics. If I wanted walls of brass locomotives, great, but I needed track to run something on. And that was what started this for me personally, was I wanted to make sure when somebody came in here, they could buy, if they just wanted a train set for something simple, they could buy it. If they wanted enough stuff to build a basic 4x8 layout, we had what they needed in stock. And then all the fancy rolling stock and locomotives are secondary. And like you said, the detail items, but we want to have everything. We have basic power supplies. We have basic DCC systems. And I've always believed in that. And I continue to follow that line of thinking.
The other thing I'll mention, we try to support best we can the small manufacturer. He's the kind of guy, he's doing it in his garage or his basement. Probably he and his wife started the company.
Right.
And they don't have a lot of revenue for advertising and that kind of thing. So to the extent we can, we try to promote those people and the products that they have. And it would be great if we could figure a way for the hobby shop community to be able to also support those small manufacturers to help them and to help the hobby. You got any ideas along those lines?
Well, the one thing I'm right there with you on that. And one of the problems that I've noticed in trying to get some of these small manufacturers in is I've called several of them up on a community base. A lot of them do not have a dealer program. And they just kind of give you the deer in the headlight look on the phone when you're talking to them. So if these small manufacturers, which I think make some of the most spectacular products out there, and I love them, if they would have a dealer program, so when a dealer does call, and I tell people, I'm a brick and mortar store and I want to carry your product. Oh, well, we don't know what the discount structure be or what we should charge. And obviously it needs to be enough of a discount where we can make some money on it because we got to pay rent by the square foot in our store. So if there are manufacturers out there that can put enough of a margin in there so that we can afford to buy the product and sell the product, that's one thing. The other thing that I ran into with a couple of smaller manufacturers is I buy the product, put it in my store. Well, some of these manufacturers had no idea that I go to shows. So they show up at a train show and they're selling their product at a severe discount. And then I come over there and I've got train shows are very expensive per square foot to pay for. So when I show up and I've got 6 booths and I'm paying anywhere from $200 to $600 a booth. And then I walk in there and find out that I'm now competing against a manufacturer that I've been buying stuff from. That tends to get my blood boiling. And especially when they're discounting it heavily. And then they come over, customers will walk by me, you're charging too much for that. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So I've had a few words and I've actually just discontinued carrying some of these people's products because of that. So I think that some of the manufacturers need to support brick and mortar stores, especially the bigger ones, which they don't, as we know. They'll compete against you all day long. But if they would start with that premise of protecting the stores, and if a store is willing to put their product out there and display their product and sell their product, then they would be more successful. But I'm not going to go to a show and compete against them. And that has happened, I would probably say about 40% of the time with the small business lines that I brought on. So that's a big hurdle.
That's interesting because no one has mentioned that to me on the show before, but I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I also understand the difficulty that the small manufacturer has. You may be the first hobby shop that's ever called them up and said, I'd like to carry your product.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. And then I say, well, can you put some together? Think about it, call me back. And about half the time I get a call back, and I've actually brought in some. And then the other half the time I don't hear anything from them. I'll call them a second time. I like to sell. I'm really good at selling things I believe in. If I find a product that I really like, or I know is a wonderful product that I can move, I'll go after it. But there's only so much I'm going to do. I'm not going to be like a dog chasing a car down the street for too long. If they don't want to play nice with me, or they just don't have any interest in offering me that product, I'm not going to do it.
Mark, how's the supply chain treating you right now? I keep hearing, well, COVID has caused this, COVID has caused that. Well, where is the supply chain right now? You getting product?
That's a good question. There's a couple of companies that won't even return our calls because we can't get any product out of them. Without naming names, there's some companies are going up for sale. We're trying to get product. We can't. I would say it's fair. It's not great right now, but I try to order in large numbers certain items, like multiple cases of track. So when Atlas finally gets an order of track in, I do get some track. So luckily we're not out of that. But there's a lot of products that we just physically can't get right now. And I know some of the big suppliers are also pulling their hair out with this one. So yes, it has definitely affected us, but that's one thing that I would say has been our saving grace, is the fact that I've been lucky to pick up a few very large estates that had a lot of product in it. So we've been able to make a lot of our customers happy with the unique products that we've been able to offer. And some of these estates have even been so fortunate to have a lot of new products in them that were never opened. As you know, model railroaders buy something, put it on a shelf half the time and never open it. So that's been very fortunate for us. And that really has helped us through these hard couple years, buying a few very large estates. But yes, the supply chain continues to be a problematic. I can't really honestly say that it's coming out of the woods yet. I do notice that we're getting some stuff. We did have a big upset. We had to pre-order a bunch of stuff from Lionel in February. Well, it showed up December 27th, 2 days after Christmas. And there was a lot of stuff that was really would have sold at Christmas time, but I didn't have it. So I had to turn customers away, like simple transformers. We didn't have any transformers until the 27th. Well, when people really need that for around their Christmas tree, so now we've lost those sales. So that's the kind of things that we face with some of these manufacturers. And it's not really their fault because they did put the orders in. It's just it was sitting on a boat. They couldn't get it off the boat. And then there's some companies that are just not producing, or their production has went way down on their volume. So they're not able to supply all the dealers and the distributors with the product.
Well, I also hear that finding employees is getting more and more difficult for the manufacturers, and that's also contributing to the problem.
It is. You're right. I was talking to the guys at NCE, and they're way down on employees, but they're treating us pretty good. We're still lucky to get product out of them, and they're wonderful people. But they're pulling their hair out because they can't get enough people to really fill that. And the same with TCS, another company there. But we're doing really good with those two companies. We've had a great relationship with them over the years, and they've treated me right. And so I got to throw out a shout to them that they're really doing wonderful right now to supply us with product.
Well, I can't thank you for being here. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark? Because I don't want to monopolize this time.
Mark, just two questions and thoughts.
Sure.
I mean, so it seems to me as a hobby shop owner, there are really two challenges. One is kind of that long tail of parts that you don't want to buy and put in inventory because somebody's going to buy one once every 2 years. Detail, there's just a whole bunch of that. I think this idea of how do we create an ordering mechanism where people don't go online and order those, what Jim was talking about, is really important. And it strikes me that the hobby shops don't seem to put that right out in the front, like have a big sign that says, we order on Mondays, all orders put in by Monday are received in a week, order through us, and really promote that. Because it strikes me that a lot of modelers, when they go look for something online, if they look at it, if they just had in the back of their mind the thought of saying, why don't I call my hobby shop and see if they can get it for me, and then I'll have a good reason to go to the hobby shop in a week. If they don't need it immediately, it kind of strikes me that I think as an industry, we really need to promote that. The hobby shops, it needs to become very formalized, where we all start to think that way. Support your local hobby shop, order locally. So and it's great you're doing it, but I really wish we kind of as an industry get to promoting it. Anyway, enough said. So that's one problem is can resolve that if you can have people buy things and wait a week, you don't have that tail that you don't have the inventory, therefore they don't buy it. So the idea of visiting your hobby shop's not the end of your purchase. The second problem, it seems to me, is large items like, engines and locomotives and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of a double-edged problem. I mean, the first problem is you can't buy enough inventory to get good pricing because you don't have the demand structure for the different pieces. And the thing the internet guys went on is being able to buy those in bulk. And I've always wondered if there wasn't a way to get the hobby shops together to kind of do that as a shared inventory in some way. It's just
like a co-op.
Yeah, like a co-op. It strikes me that there are these two factors that are really make it hard to be in that business. You're kind of squeezed between the long tail of, like you said, people come into the shop, if they can't find what they want, they walk out the door. That's one side, which means now you have this horrible inventory carrying costs with the turnover that's actually, if you look at a real business model perspective, having all those KD couplers is great for the modelers. It's great to position. When you go to the turnover on certain couplers, you find that, you're not really making any money on them. And so I think those two would just be very interesting, in the industry. And you're talking about being a part of the Hobby Industry Association to say, how can the industry resolve those two issues and make it a lot easier to be in the business and do what you do?
You hit the nail on the head. And I was born and raised in Nebraska, so co-ops are a big thing for me, grain elevators. So I tried taking that approach with a few of the hobby shops around and, I don't want to compete with you or this or that. And I'm thinking it's not a competition. It gives us buying power. It allows us to do certain things. So yeah, you're right in that respect. It's tough when you can't buy everything you want. Ideally, you want to have 25 of every locomotive ever produced in stock, so you can always make them happy. One thing we've helped with turnover, because again, being a brick and mortar store, if you do on the walk-in, your turnover is terrible on certain items per year. But by going to as many shows as we normally do a year, we normally do 25 to 30 shows a year. So that allows the stuff, especially that doesn't sit in the store, or maybe we have product that we brought in from an estate or something I ordered from a company and I thought it was going to sell and really didn't. I'll take it out on the road, and 99% of the time it never sets foot back in the store. It leaves. And then we also have inventory that, okay, this is through the COVID, we had stuff sitting here. So we loaded a bunch of stuff in our trailer and it's gone to several shows and it's gone. So stuff that was sitting here is literally not here anymore. So that allows the customers, when they come through the door, to see new inventory, which it gets them excited. But yeah, I would love to see more of a co-op, but a lot of the store owners feel it's competition and I don't get it. I tried explaining it to them and giving them the business model for it. We're working with a couple of them to start to do that. And then a couple of the manufacturers, if they get wind that you're going to try to co-op, they're going to cut everybody off. So that's another problem that we're facing, trying to get okay, because, this dealer's approved, but this dealer's not. And if you sell through you to this other dealer, we're going to cut you off. And so some of these manufacturers are really inhibiting the growth of the hobby. They're kind of acting like spoiled brats, in my opinion.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, listen, anybody else have any questions?
I have one question.
Okay.
Mark, I have one question.
Sure.
Pat Rivard here. International shipping, are you having any problems with that sort of thing?
No, we really haven't. My wife has shipped stuff to some very interesting countries. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but we really haven't had a lot of problem with it.
So you kind of help them out if we're looking for something that they can't find locally, you're not in any problem trying to send it to them or giving them.
No, we don't have any problem sending anything. My wife's really good with any paperwork that needs to be done, and We try to ensure everything is as good as possible and give the track. And the other thing about us, we only charge the actual shipping. We don't charge a bunch of handling fees, and we don't charge a box fee or what have you. We want to get the product in the customer's hands, and we know shipping is expensive and the prices just keep going up. So we want to do our part at least to help people out. So we just do whatever we need to do. If we got to crate something up really special, we'll charge whatever that crate cost us, something like that. But as far as charging to put it in a box, we don't believe in that. We never have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
What about shipping to Canada? I keep hearing about the problem shipping to Canada. Is that a problem for you?
Well, we haven't shipped much to Canada lately, to be honest with you.
Slow up.
Yeah, they're slow. They're a little slower. That's my wife just chimed in. They're a little bit slower up there, but
That's Canada. It's just slow.
Yeah, Canada seems to be a little slow on their end. As far as us getting it to the border, it's no problem. But we ship to England and Europe and France and Germany and Iran, Israel, Brazil, literally. And sometimes it's amazing. You'll get to Brazil in 3 days. It's like, how to do that? It's really interesting. So yeah, overall, we're not afraid of it. We have no problems doing it. We've even shipped stuff to Australia. That does take a little bit of time sometimes. But most of the stuff that we ship apparently goes air freight. So we don't really have anything that's going on a slow boat. My wife shipped a few things to China.
Do you have a website that you've set up already?
No, we're just working on that. We just got our domain name and we're just starting that website because that's the next phase. Now my wife and I are feeling better, and it's a lot of time involved to do that, but that's our next step.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Listen, when you get your website set up, if you'll let me know, I'll have you back on the show and you can talk about your website.
Okay, I'd love to do that. I'd love to be a part of this. It's fun. So we got to get all the modelers in the world we can together and just promote this wonderful hobby of ours.
Well, this is why I was so encouraged to have you on the show, Mark, because when I first called and talked to you, everything that you're saying tonight is basically the conversation we had back then. And I didn't find anything that I could disagree with or that I had any problem with at all. And as I said on the front end, if I lived in California, absolutely, you would be my hobby shop and I would be in there no telling how many times a week. Because the kind of thing
we'd love to have you.
The kind of thing that you're talking about and the kind of people that you've hired, the kind of atmosphere that I sense your hobby shop has is the kind of atmosphere, it's the kind of hobby shop I grew up with. It's where I learned some basic tools and basic skills of model railroading. It's where the employees helped me figure out what I needed to do and help me figure out how to do it in a lot of cases. And those places are by and large gone now. So I can't thank you enough for wanting to be here. I want to have you back. I'll be calling you tomorrow and talking about maybe how you can participate in our show. Because what you're doing from a retail standpoint and what you're doing as far as the clinic potential and actually building model railroads for people, I see a real potential for our show with you. And so I'll be giving you a call and seeing what we can work out.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, everything I've done all my life, I can really thank my dad. My dad, I've been in business all my life. My dad was self-employed for most of his. He owned a whole bunch of automotive businesses in Nebraska in the Midwest in the 70s. And that was his way of doing business. You treated people fairly, you listened to them, you helped them out. You never told them a lie. You had knowledgeable people behind the counters. So he owned a dealership, a wrecking yard, 2 gas stations, an automotive repair business, and a radio station. And he was one of the best salesmen I'd ever saw. And getting to sit in with him and see everything that he did and watch him literally sell ice cream to Eskimos, a refrigerator to put it in, and then an ice cube tray, but they needed it and they were happy to buy it. And he never sold anything he didn't believe in. And I'm exactly the same way.
Well, listen, I want to talk to you a minute about the association, because that's how I found you, through the association. And a lot of the hobby shops that I've had on the show, you were the first one that is a member of the National Retail Hobby Shop Association.
Really?
Would you like to talk about the association a little bit?
Well, I've only become a member a little bit ago. Steve at Fundemonium is the one that turned me on to it. So I think it's a great thing. I think more hobby shops need to join organizations such as this. I see a lot of benefits, both for the business, marketing. They help you with marketing tools, sales tools. It's kind of like a big brother standing next to you. There's a lot of collective knowledge in this organization, and I feel that none of the stores tap into this. And again, like I said, I go to a lot of stores, and I always make a point to buy something, even if I don't need it. When I walk into another train store or a hobby shop, I always buy something. I never leave empty-handed. I don't care if it's a $2 widget, because I want to know the experience from start to finish. And then I kind of analyze, okay, what did I like about this shop? What did I not like? How could I apply what I like to my own store? But you're right that by not wanting to join these organizations, and I think a lot of these companies think, I don't want to spend the money. Well, it's not that expensive. And the benefits that you get out of an organization such as this greatly outweigh the cost, from discounts for certain business services that we can take advantage of. And I'm only just getting my feet wet with this organization. Steve is one of the, I think he's the president, and it's definitely helped his business grow. And he saw the opportunity for me to take my business to the next level by becoming a member. So I encourage all members. Another thing that floors me is how few train store owners or operators are members of the NMRA. That just absolutely, I've been a member. I was a teen NMRA member back in the day, and then I got into Cars and Girls, and then I came back to the NMRA, and I firmly believe in that organization too. And you walk in, and I'd say 95% of the stores across the nation, none of them are members of the NMRA. Some of them don't even know what the NMRA is. And how can you have Model Railroader or RMC or any of these magazines in your store and not even know what it is?
Well,
so I think that would be
what's amazing to me is the NMRA will pay a hobby shop for getting a new member. So if the hobby shop owner provides a new member for the NMRA kicks back a portion of that membership fee to the hobby shop owner.
Yes, they do. That's true. And nobody takes advantage of it. In fact, we just put in an order for some new signs so we can have in the store NMRA.org and everything else.
Well, listen, I can't thank you enough here this evening. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark?
Well, I sure enjoyed being on here, and I enjoy meeting you guys. This has been a lot of fun.
I thank you so very much. And like I say, I'll be calling you tomorrow, and we'll talk about the future.
Okay, sounds great.
Mark, thank you so much for being here, and best of luck to your store.
Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing, because you're definitely doing a great job in promoting this hobby.
I hope so. Sure work at it.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this evening, folks. Next week, we've got a great show. We've got the start of another build-along with Kershaw Models and Martin Breck Built, MMR. And we've got Stephen Elliott. Stephen is the modeler and a board member. I'm not sure if he's a president, but I know he's a board member of the National Association of Retail Hobby Shops. And like Mark said, he's the one that got him involved in the association. Well, Stephen is the one that got me to Mark and also agreed to be on the show and talk about not only the association, but also his hobby shop, which is called Fundemonium Hobby Shop. So we have him next week, and I think that's going to be fascinating to hear after hearing what Mark had to say tonight, to hear what he would have to contribute to that. And like I say, we've got the start of another build along. Daryl Jacobs is going to be back talking about the art of details. And Paul Thomson will be back with another quick tip. So I thank you so much for being here this evening. Please go to our website. If you haven't signed up and subscribed, it's newtracksmodeling.com. You'll get an email. If you'll confirm the email address is correct, then you'll get notices of all of the future shows and the login links for Zoom. If you'd rather see us on YouTube, because we live stream to YouTube at the same time, and it's recorded on YouTube so that if you miss a show, you can always see the video of it later. But if you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is New Tracks Modeling, then you'll get a notice of all of the shows as they appear on the YouTube. And I hope you'll do either one of those or both of those, because we'd like for you to come back. I personally look forward to the comments that I get from the people that see the show, whether they like it or not, whether they've got ideas, whether they've got guests to suggest, whether they've got ideas that they think they would like to do to present to the New Tracks audience. I'd really like to hear from you. And my email is jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com. So that's it for this evening. Thank you so much for coming. Come back often. Tell your friends about us. And now we will go to the after show. Normally, Clark Kooning MMR will take over and do the after show. But Clark is on vacation this week and not going to be with us. So you're stuck with me again for the after show. So let me start the after show with, what did you think about tonight's show? What did you think about the hobby shop discussion that we have?
That was a great show, Jim. I enjoyed it. Al's presentation and the hobby shop, you know, his being a modeler and being in the Anna Maria himself, and that's is a different approach. But, you know, just tracking down what people are talking to the customers and finding out what they want. And I think that's good. We used to have a model shop here in London, Ontario, which is a 2-hour drive for me. There's lots of hobby shops closer, but I used to go there because he was in an old scale railway club in town also himself. And so talking to some of the guys, they'd ask something, you know, him to order something like maybe fine scale miniature castings and things like that, small stuff. But so instead of just filling that order for him, he'd go and get a couple of more on the premises that as soon as that guy went to the club, look what I picked up. Somebody else would come in the next day and want the same thing. So listening to what the people want is, I think, a good approach. I'm not a businessman. I don't run a shop, so I know they have their challenges.
But you know, the reason that I contacted the association in the first place is I really feel that there's a role for modelers to play in an association like that. I think the modeler viewpoint is important. And what I'm hearing from the people that I'm talking about in the association, I'm talking to, is many of the problems that they have are exactly the same problems that we have. If they can't get a product, we can't get a product. If the price of their cost is going way sky high, our cost is going way sky high. And it seems to me we're in this together, the modeler and the hobby shop owner, much more so than maybe the manufacturers are. But I do see that the modeler has a role they need to play in the manufacturers. Well, New Tracks is a member of the Hobby Manufacturers Association because there's a place for us there as a nonprofit. There's a place that they have set aside and said, yeah, you can belong to our association and contribute best you can. And I have a proposal that I've made to that association, and I'm hopeful it'll be approved. Well, I'd like to be able to join the National Retail Hobby Shop Association, but that association doesn't have a place for us, the modeler. It doesn't have a real place for the small manufacturer. So while I support the local hobby shops on this show best we can, that's why I started the series of inviting hobby shop owners to be a part of our show. And I support the manufacturers best I can. That's why we do the build-alongs the way we do it. That's why we concentrate only on having the small manufacturers on the show. It just seems to me that we're all in this together. And for that association to really prosper and really have a voice, the modelers need to be there. Not just model railroaders, but modelers in whatever you're doing, whether it's airplanes, cars, boats, whatever. There needs to be a role for the modelers in these associations.
Well, just a comment from North Carolina. We're fortunate in that we do have a hobby shop within an hour who is taking Mark's approach very strong, and has for a number of years, where we call in and he will order weekly from Walthers or a couple of other suppliers that he does business. And we have always promoted that operation by word of mouth, either at train shows, which we have. We now have 2 a year in the local area, big train shows, but also within our NMRA regional and meetings. There's always word of mouth. So I think it's the duty of the modeler to mention, hey, we have a local hobby shop, and maybe it's an hour, maybe 2 hours drive, but you can pick up the phone, you can talk to the owner. He's very knowledgeable. He's an NMRA member, and that model is, the business model is excellent. And I think that's how we as modelers can promote that and to say, here's a guy who's knowledgeable. He's going to find the parts, be it scratch building or cars, locomotives, structures, kits, whatever you need, paint and supplies. He can order them for you and call ahead. He'll let them know when they're in stock. And one fellow, because we have some during COVID modelers that were housebound, he would order the parts, he'd get them in from Walthers or whatever supplier, and then he would drop ship them to members' houses. And so we have a number of folks that couldn't get out during the COVID, and yet our local hobby shop was able to get the parts. So we supported him, and the local hobby shop member owner supported us. It's really got, like you said, Jim, it's got to be a handshake, because we've got to help each other in this.
Because we're in it together. I keep thinking that, and for the association to say, no, we don't really want modelers to be a member. I don't understand that. I mean, it's to me, it's just good business for the modeler to be able to push the hobby shop, and for the hobby shop to want the modeler's business, because the modeler is the guy that's going to be in there 12 months out of the year. He's not just in it for the Christmas party. He's there in June and July and August. So that to me should be the kind of customer that the hobby shop owner would be after. And that's why I keep trying to push the association to find some way, some place for the modeler viewpoint or voice in their association, because I agree totally with what you're saying about the word of mouth and promoting your local hobby shop. That's why, to me, having a hobby shop owner on our show, having the NMRA superintendent locally on our show, all of that ties together in my mind. Because if everybody's going down the same road and singing the same song, then everybody's going to benefit from that. The NMRA benefits, the hobby shop owner benefits, most importantly, the modeler benefits, small manufacturer benefits. I don't see a loser in this.
Can I add?
Yeah.
When we say modelers too, I think if we expanded our descriptions, so there are a number of different fields of modeling that are very talented. Foam modelers, gaming modelers, and I look at a lot of their work for inspiration and tips also. And hobby shops would also, I know that my local hobby shop has had to expand and push a lot more aircraft modeling and to help keep going. So we as railroad modelers, if we expand our horizons too and can draw in from other areas, I think that would help the modeling group in general, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I totally agree with you. That's why again, I write for these two magazines, S-Scale and O-Scale Railroading, but I don't always write about model railroad. I've written about the gaming. I've written about the 28 millimeter figures that the Wild West people produce and use in their dioramas, and the different gaming situations that are out there. The military modelers I've talked about, the artists, some of the work that they do on the figures that they paint, the shading that they do, and how they go about trying to figure out what color to use and so forth. To me, that's areas that model railroading can benefit from. So I see a wide range of different hobbies that can impact model railroaders if model railroaders are just familiar with them. And in a lot of cases in the past, you're a model railroader and those are the people you talk to, period.
Agreed. And I do dabble a little bit in the military 148 scale modeling. And but my primary interest is in trains. But without expanding your research to other mediums, I think that you can't grow. And the foam modelers their creations are absolutely stunning. What they can create, and I've used a lot of their techniques in scenery and creating that way. So it may be an opportunity for expansion of subjects. I just wanted to kind of throw that up there a little bit, and maybe some future down the road that may be able to bring in other model interests into the group that would help promote within the model field, but also with the retail and the hobby shops.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And I'm open to anybody that would like to come on the show and talk about the other hobbies. The hobby shop, one of the things when I originally joined the Hobby Manufacturers Association, they said, well, all of us are not model railroaders. I said, I don't care. I don't care if you're a hobby manufacturer. I have an interest in you because it may well be that what you're producing has some benefit that I haven't even considered for my model railroad. Because in the past, I've been a very narrowly focused person on model railroading, and in many cases, O-scale model railroading, and in some cases, O-scale traction model railroading. And you can't get much narrower than that.
Jim, I would like to throw out too that on YouTube, the military guys, they are getting into kits that are completely 3D printed at this point. The Night Shift, which is one of the sites that I follow because he is a true artist on the weathering and rusting of those models, the military models. He does specifically tanks, but he has just recently completed and weathered a 3D printed kit. So it looks to me, since the military guys are a little bit ahead of us, that we're starting to move into that 3D printing and kits being actually produced from 3D printing manufacturers. So that's something else to start thinking about for all of us, that that might be a different thing, because that's going to require some other slightly different techniques than what we're used to, because that resin is a little bit different to work with.
You're exactly right. And in fact, we had one person on the show already that showed you the 3D printed trolleys that he was having made for him. And the person that printed them, we had him on the show talking about how he went about printing his 3D trolleys. Well, who would have thought that you could print a 3D trolley model, put some trucks on it, and run it on your train? I mean, it just, I've never heard of anything like that before. So that was fascinating to me. We're going to have a manufacturer in March, middle of March, I think it is, from the Hobby Manufacturers Association. He's vice president of that association and owns a company. They recently bought out the molds and all the tooling from Revell. So a lot of the stuff that Revell produced back in the 50s, 60s, they own the rights to that now, as I understand it. So, you know, there's so much going on in hobbies that are not directly model railroad hobbies that I find extremely interesting and potentially very favorable for model railroaders.
May I add to that, Jim?
I'm sorry?
May I add to that?
Yeah.
I've been involved with the 3D printing for quite a while now. And some of you may know the name Les Davis and the Bachmann trench locomotive in ON30.
Mm-hmm.
I was in on the initial designing with Les on that program. And that's a perfect example of a couple modelers getting together with an idea, getting the 3D printing together. Les took that locomotive that was created. I designed the cab and the boiler, sent him the files online. He printed them, refined everything, basically fixed all my mistakes. And I believe he won the best locomotive at the National Narrow Gauge Convention with it, and created enough interest that Bachmann decided to create the ON30 trench locomotive. So 3D printing does have a future, I believe. And we may be a little slow to take up on it, but it's a valuable tool, a totally valuable tool. And I see a lot of growth in that area.
I do too, and I've had manufacturers contact me because Earl Hackett is going to do on our show a 3D printing series for us. And Earl is going to start with a free CAD program, and take us through. This is how you get it on your computer. This is how you download it, and start at that level, and then take us through the whole process. And then he's going to end up building a bridge out of the parts that he creates from the 3D process. And I think that's going to open a lot of people's eyes, because I've had manufacturers call me up and say, well, we heard you were going to do that, but could you do something in 2D rather than 3D, because we're having trouble getting the parts cut right. Well, I called Earl and I said, Earl, can we do that? He said, don't worry about it, because he said, the program I'm going to use, the first part of it is 2D. Well, they can use that part for their cutting, and then we go to 3D, and that's what I'm going to be talking about primarily. So we're going to try to kill two birds with one stone with Earl's presentation to help both the manufacturers who want to learn how to do the detailed cutting on cutting machines, as well as how to do the CAD programming for 3D printing. And that, from what I've been told, that's the major detriment to more and more 3D printed items, is people aren't familiar with CAD and don't know how to use the CAD part of it. It's not the printing, that's kind of turn a switch on once you've got the CAD program written. It's getting the CAD program written to put in the machine is the hard part.
Agreed. There are a number of different programs out there. I currently use one of the older programs. I'm cheap. I've used it for 10 plus years. I use SketchUp. It was a free to source on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably fill a whole show on what programs are available and what are good for beginners. I think I don't want to move away from the original hobby shop idea, but I believe that 3D printing is kind of the way to fill the void of parts and allowing the modeler to create that specific model, that specific train. And it just can't find the correct word, sorry. It is the future, I do believe, and it's very exciting. But having the support of the base model, that's where I think we all have to continue to look at the fundamentals.
Well, as the younger people get into the hobby, won't the problem with creating the CAD get less and less?
I agree completely because my background is in engineering, and I learned how to. I sat there with a drafting board and a lead holder for many years, and then got it in. But the younger folks, I have a great nephew who is 11. He is already doing 3D CAD because his dad happens to have a 3D printer. And you're right, Jim, the future will definitely be younger people will be so oriented towards CAD and graphics. I mean, they're not all playing video games. Some of them are actually doing creative work with drafting programs. This young fellow is fairly familiar with SketchUp, and he's trying to talk his dad into buying the AutoCAD version, which is very expensive for a kid to be playing with, but he wants to go that direction. But my third bird to kill is I'm going to learn from this 11-year-old how to get good CAD drawings, because I am going to take my own 3D printed design, and it's going to happen to be for a rail car that I have measured and photographed and climbed all over, and that is going to be my scratch built motive power board. So I'm trying real hard to learn that, because if you do the 3D design yourself and then even have it printed by somebody else, you have scratch built a motive power entry. And if you can get 87.5 points for it, that counts towards my AP in motive power. And motive power has lately been one of the least achievement certificates in all of the NMRA. Very few people can have the soldering skills, the machining skills. Like when we grew up, we put together brass as best we could. And yeah, we soldered one end of the brass locomotive and the other end of it fell off when we didn't heat sink it enough. You've been there, Jim. You know what that's like. Younger people do not have those skills, but they have the CAD skills where they can scratch build a 3D model by doing their own CAD program. So,
you know what? Let me throw this out and get a reaction. I don't know whether Mark's still here or not, but maybe he can react too. What is there a role for the hobby shop in having the 3D printer where people can send their CAD to the hobby shop and have it printed?
Yes, in fact, we're looking into that. I've been looking into 3D printers recently, and there's a couple of products I want to make, I want to manufacture. So I think 3D printing definitely has a place.
Because it seems to me as more and more people are able to produce the CAD drawing, instead of having to go out and spend significant dollars for their own 3D printer, if they could go to their hobby shop or send the CAD to the hobby shop and then have the hobby shop print it, and then they can go to the hobby shop and pick up their parts, and no telling what else they'll buy while they're there. To me, that's got some potential, because the hobby shop can spread the cost of that machine over a lot of customers, where individuals have to find a place in their home to put the machine.
Not to mention the resin printers are kind of stinky, and they got to have nasty chemicals with them. And it's not something I want when I've got the grandkids around.
Like that hobby shop that's 2 hours from you, if you could by the internet, send your CAD drawing to them, and then the next time you're up there, pick up your pieces.
Absolutely. I'd come pick up my parts, and who knows what else I'd find, because he's got a whole pegboard full of neat stuff. So when I'm picking up my 3D printed parts, I'm buying some other stuff there.
Yep.
So the challenge with that is, to some extent, with filament printing, you might be able to do it. But especially with resin printing, the art of resin printing is building the supports and all the things for a printer. And you'd almost have to move that to the shop. So you'd have to provide them, with basically an STL or whatever, the file you wanted printed, and the shop would have to do that. And I think you'd find by the time you got done that the labor costs of doing that would probably be very equivalent to Shapeways.
I do have a comment. I went to our local model railroad shop, which is Credit Valley, and pick up some stuff, and they didn't have it. It was paint and stuff. So I just went around the corner to another hobby shop, which is called Great Hobbies, not Great Lakes. And and they had a 3D printer set right on top of their counter. Now they're more for RC and all that kind of stuff, but they had 3 of them on the counters. All 3 of them were different, and he had 1 or 2 of them functioning, making parts right there. So right on the counter of the hobby shop, and I thought, wow, that's good. It just shows that they can do this stuff for people, and that. So that was a pretty nice little demonstration I wasn't even looking for. But yes, 3D printing is right there, right available. Good.
Excuse me, where was this located again?
Mississauga, Ontario. And it was called.
Thank you. Just a bit of a drive, but
yeah, it might be.
Maybe looking
for me,
somewhere south.
For me, 20 minutes.
I'm assuming they were filament printers. Or were they resin printers?
Yeah, one was filament, one was some sort of type of resin. I didn't get into it too much with the guy.
Interesting.
But yeah, the thing is, I guess we're very fortunate in Mississauga. We got Credit Valley Model Railroad Shop, which carries everything, and you can do what our other gentleman was talking about. You can order stuff online. You can go there and order it, and that kind of stuff. And then we also have a place called Hobby, which is RC, again, crossover modeling, and also Great Hobbies. And they're all kind of like 10 minutes from each other. So I guess we're very, very lucky in that response. So I didn't realize what a good hobby area I live in. So there you go.
Anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
Yeah, I got a quick question for Rick and Maureen. Are you guys home, and are you going to be there for the next week or 2?
Absolutely. We're done traveling.
What, you don't like coming to BC anymore?
Well, for those that don't know, we were out in Victoria visiting our granddaughter and our great-granddaughter, but we were in all the disasters in the states of emergencies that were on out there. We were stranded on the side of the road for 6 nights. We were stranded in Victoria for 5 weeks and could not get out. Every highway was closed. Jim knows this story already. And the only way we could get out was by ferry from Victoria. So we went to Port Angeles, Washington, and home through the States. And if you've ever tried to cross the mountains in the winter, I-90's closed, I-84 closed, I-70 closed, all of them were closed. We finally got down to I-40, which is just above LA. And even though we got through the snow, we got across the country and home. We were away for over 2 months, and it got to be the worst trip we've ever been on. I wanted to talk to Mark for just a minute. Okay, I'm Rick Hunter. We own Hunter Line.
Oh, okay.
We do shows. We've done every show on the West Coast, and we do about 20 shows a year somewhere in the United States or Canada. We've done all those shows.
Yeah, I've
on
seen
the
your
West
demonstrations
Coast.
at some of the shows.
Oh, great.
I've seen your
Great.
demonstrations, so.
So we, and I want everybody else to know this too. As a manufacturer, we do our list price, and that is it. At a show, we don't discount everything. Like, we keep it at our list price. If we, at the beginning of the show, we go around to see if any of our dealers are there. If any of our dealers are there, we are supporting them 100%. We will do the sales pitch for this, that, and the other, one of our products, and then we'll walk you down to our dealer's place to make the sale there. Because what people don't understand is that even though you've made the sale, we've done the sales pitch to help you out, you're going to buy again from us. So it all works out, okay? We've learned, we've been in business 28 years, and we learned if you discount your products, you might as well shoot yourself in the foot because there's no.
Yep, I agree with that. That's a great philosophy, and so few manufacturers follow that.
I didn't know that. Okay, I just thought that was the way it was done.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's unbelievable, some of the stories that you hear, Rick. Seriously.
Yeah, it's a backstabbing many times. I had one manufacturer that I took a whole booth worth of their product to a show.
Yeah.
So that's 3 tables at one of the major shows, cost me $600 for the booth. And then him and his wife were over there selling everything on their booth, the exact same stuff I had, at 40% off list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it got pretty ugly, I'll say that. So, but unfortunately, that's happened a lot. And I'm a unique store where I travel to a lot of these shows. A lot of these guys who sell to dealers like myself never anticipate that the actual dealer is going to show up in their backyard at a show.
Sure.
I can't imagine anything 40% off list. I mean, that's we're like Rick and Maureen. It's list is list, and that's
oh yeah.
So you gotta support the guys you help out. So.
Right, and this one had done it to me before, and I even called him and said, "Okay, are you going to the show? Because I'm going, and I'm not going to take product if you're going to show up." And he goes, "Oh no, I'm not going to the show." And I said, "Okay, I'm taking a whole booth worth," and I show up, and there he is.
So we find with some of our dealers, because we promote them at the show, they might run out of stock. Well, quick, we just take it over to them.
Oh yeah, that's
We
great.
stock their shelf right away.
That's great. That's a great way to do it. Oh,
we did the same with Mount Albert. We never discounted at shows. We always charged full list.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Anyways, I just wanted to get my 2 cents worth in on those shows.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk to you.
All right.
But Rick, I think it's important for the small manufacturer to understand what the hobby shop is saying about this. Because
I understand.
While you know, I'm trying to promote you by the build-alongs and so forth, and giving the airtime and that kind of stuff and promoting you. At the same time, the hobby shop needs the promotion, needs the help, the same as the manufacturers do. And that's why I say, to me, everybody is in this together. The manufacturers have a major role to play, but so do the hobby shops, and so do the modelers. And the modelers, you know, if they keep looking for the super duper discount all the time, that's not going to help anybody ultimately.
Yeah, exactly.
When we were selling to retail outlets for Mount Albert, the only way it worked, and we did it with Rick up in Canada, and we had a distributor in Lompoc, which is that in California?
Yes.
Yeah, we had a distributor in Lompoc, and the only way it would work with such a specialty item as stripwood was to go through a distributor, because individual hobby shops could not stock enough, nor could we afford to send 3 packages of 1x2s if it was totally cost prohibitive to do that. So it goes back to your idea of not necessarily a co-op, but I'm thinking of something as special as strip wood. You need a central location that that the surrounding hobby shops can draw from.
But it seems to me that if a group of manufacturers could get together and place an order with Mount Albert, that might benefit all of the small manufacturers.
One of the things we do is when clubs order from our website, okay, this guy orders it and this guy orders it and this guy, we go back to them and we say, look, put a list up where your club meets, and everybody, and this is what we did with Mount Albert stuff, is list down what you want, you put in one order, you have one set of shipping, and then everybody distributes their own stuff when they get there. We've done that for years, and we still do it.
I think that's a great idea, and I think it's something that we could talk to the clubs and the divisions around the country could do the same thing for their members, which would frankly be a real asset to the members because the reduction in the shipping costs they'd have to pay, and a reason to go to the local meetings to pick up the supplies.
Absolutely.
So everybody wins. The NMRA wins, the modeler wins, the manufacturer wins.
See, our shipping is very much different than anybody else. We have a flat rate shipping. This is for retail now. We have a flat rate shipping of $20 US. And that's whether you buy one bottle or 100 bottles. So when the club get together like that, and maybe they order, I don't know, 20 bottles, well, they only have one $20 shipping. Works great.
That to me that makes all the sense in the world.
Sure.
Now, if other manufacturers do the same thing, that would have to be a benefit to them too.
Yeah. Now the person who buys one bottle and it's $20 shipping, they give me a phone call usually and say, what? Why? And I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying.
The guy who does 10.
I understand exactly what you're saying. And a lot of people in the club, they build the same kit, but so what? They can always modify it. They can always make it their own with the details.
Yep.
Like that talking about.
Exactly.
So that really no two kits come out the same way necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. We've learned that from the builder logs.
Yeah, I know. Anybody else?
It's quiet without Clark.
I know. Yeah, he'll be back next week, so he'll liven things up again. Well, if nobody else has got anything, then I think I'm going to say goodnight to you, and thanks so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. Most importantly, hope you learned something.
Good night.
Good night, people.
I did.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. No problem. Good talking to you.
Talk to you tomorrow, Mark. Bye-bye.
Okay, sounds good, Jim.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Yeah. Bye.